Hey there folks, today is Tuesday, September the 5th, 2023. My name is Nssour and this is the pilot episode of Keeping It Realistic, a show in which we will be going through everything that has been posted in the last week in the Facebook Chaos Campus group. We will mostly, of course, be talking about your projects, their strengths, their good sides, but of course, and because this is the thing we all profit from the most, we will be talking about what doesn't work that well with your projects and how it can be improved. With the goal of all of this being that we provide you with this constructive, hopefully motivating feedback that helps you advance quicker and just become a better artist in the long run. So you will no longer be left alone in the dark wondering what you're doing wrong or how you can improve. Even if you're a seasoned artist, you can still improve because this time somebody will be there for you to at least share their opinion on those topics. And as this somebody happens to be me, I think the right thing to do now is to properly introduce myself. Now, I know that a lot of you already know me, but please bear with me for the sake of those who don't, because it's important to know who you have in front of you on, or against you in this conversation. So as I stated in the beginning, my name is Nssour. Friends call me Theo, so you do too, please. I'm a Bulgarian living in Germany half my life. I came here in 2004 to study architecture, which I did for several years afterwards. I started my bachelor's on the Technical University of Applied Sciences in Constance and continued with my master's on the State Academy of Fine Arts in Stuttgart. And just judging by the names of those two institutions, you can say that I was able to see and study both sides, major sides of architecture, like the constructional, technical one, but also the more artistic, creative side of architecture. Additionally, I also made an internship and worked for an urban design studio where I was introduced to a new aspect of architecture, and a major one again, which is city planning. And I tell you about this internship not because I want you to know everything about me and to be too detailed, but because during this internship I actually made my very first commercial visualization. And I will go as far as to actually show it to you now. Is this image. It's the visualization of this business park in Esslingen in Germany. And as you probably see for yourself, this is neither realistic, not an especially good image. It serves a purpose. Back then in 2007, it's 16 years ago, not everything was photorealistic, and an image like this wasn't something which felt off. But if you look at it from today's perspective, you will see that this is more or less just SketchUp wireframe volume model, and everything that you see atop of it, like the facades, the reflections of the trees themselves, all the people, everything has been placed on it in the post-production, which obviously is a terrible workflow seen like from nowadays standards. Why do I show you this image? The reason is, first of all, I want you to see that everybody starts somewhere, and this is nothing to be ashamed of, right? It's just the beginning, and the beginning mostly isn't perfect or great. Secondly, is because, it's not only this image, there are also two ground perspectives from this place here and from this bridge here that I can also show you. This is the place. This is the bridge. Obviously, they are equally bad. But the thing is that I actually very, very much enjoyed the time that I had while making these visualizations. I would come to work, put my headphones on, choose my favorite rock radio station, and just zone out working for hours. And I enjoyed the hell out of these 3 or 4 weeks while I was making those images. And the idea is that this is where I discovered my love for visualization, and after finishing my internship, I continued occasionally visualizing for this same studio while being a student, so on the side. And this is one of the main reasons, every time it was fun to me. And this is one of the main reasons why in 2012, after getting my master's degree, I didn't decide to go the architectural route. So I didn't become an architect as expected after studying architecture for several years. Instead, I decided to become an archivist artist. I established Haldor Visual Studio. This is my page. You may have seen some of those projects of mine. And then started working as an archivist artist. And for the last 11 years, this is what I've been doing. I obviously gained a lot of experience through the years because I worked for different types of clients, first of all. So very small startups, marketing agencies, architectural offices, obviously, up to really, really big investment development companies. But I also worked on different types of projects themselves. So from single unit houses up until huge new living quarters worth billions in big cities like Cologne, for example. So I gained a lot of experience, but my learning curve was very, very steep. It was a huge way, a very slow and tedious and tiresome and sometimes infuriating way to go from here to here through the years. And the reason for this is that I had no mentor, and I had nobody to ask and nobody to point out my mistakes or to tell me where I'm wrong and what I can do better and so on. And this is also the reason why at some point I decided to be that somebody to other people. So around 4 years ago, I started doing it. First, it was the group, the 5-step render workflow by Ciro Sannino, where I started doing this, just giving feedback to artists in order to help them, because I know this feeling of sharing my work and then getting a handful of likes and no feedback or reaction whatsoever, and wondering where I did wrong and how can I improve. So I started doing this, and I gathered a lot of experience throughout the last 4 years doing this. I later started doing it in the VW Art Club, also in the Chaos Campus, and I must say that people really seem to dig it. The thing is that I often dream about having the artist in a more direct approach in front of me, because right now I'm not a native speaker, as you hear, so I write those long texts. You may have seen some feedbacks of mine. By the way, if you still hear me, please write in the comments, because I don't know if you still hear me, if you are still there. But yeah, where I was is that I always dream that I have the artist somewhere in front of me, so that I can just tell them what I think and have a bit more emotion to it, rather than writing those long paragraphs. So this is how the idea for the show that we are on today actually was born. And I pitched it to Chaos, to Theodora and Claudio, and luckily they were both very enthusiastic about it. They liked it a lot. So now we are here with this show that, we will be talking about your works. Now, about the show itself, it is planned to happen on a weekly basis at the same time here on Facebook Live, if this works out. Hopefully it does. I see you still hear me and you still see everything I show you. I don't show much, but I will in a minute. So that it's just something that is a reoccurring occasion. So it happens just every week at the same time, on the same day. But regarding the show, even though I have gotten nothing but positive feedback for the criticism I have provided to artists throughout the last years, I still want to ask you something, and that is to take everything I tell you with a grain of salt, because I am not the voice of ultimate truth. I am not some god. I don't know everything. Our field as a whole is very subjective. So please, you don't have to like what I tell you. You don't have to agree with it either. The only thing I ask you to do is to just consider it and think about it later, and see if some parts of it or the whole of it makes sense to you or not. The only thing that you can always count on, however, is that this feedback will always be well-meant, unbiased. So I don't care where you come from, what your religion, gender, sexual orientation, skin color, or whatever is. And the last thing, it's gonna be honest. Thus, the naming of this show, it's called Keeping It Realistic, and we will be keeping it real here. We will be honest with each other and direct too. But it's I need you to know that there is nothing personal to this. So if I had something personal against some of you or somebody out of you, I would probably not invest some of my time in order to help you grow as an artist and become a better artist. Oh, Claudio doesn't know that we have a different stream now. Sorry, I had to say this to him. So yeah, I need you to please be pragmatic about it and see it like this. If I talk a lot about somebody's work and there is a lot of criticism to it, the person who got this criticism isn't the biggest loser by the end of the show, but it will be actually the biggest winner, because this person will have a lot of input to work with for the future. Because if I just sugarcoat the works and I just tell you how awesome you are, you will have the same amount of input before and after the show, and it will make no difference to you, so there is no point to it. So yeah, please be pragmatic and also think about it like this. It is always better that it is me who points out your mistakes rather than somebody you actually depend on, let's say a client that your income depends on and the food you put on the table does. So in conclusion, I think we can say that this is a show that you can only profit from, and there is nothing you can lose about it. Now, regarding the show itself, there are a few rules. Claudio already posted those rules in the group. It is like this. First and foremost, I will be talking to maximum one work per artist per week. The reason for this is that we don't want this to turn into a private portfolio review, because it would be one-sided and unfair towards everybody else. The works that we will be talking about should have a certain advancement to them. So either finished ideally or in a very advanced work in progress state. Third, please don't share your prompted visualizations. We already had a case like this, because obviously there is no point for me to talk about modeling, texturing, lighting setup and so on something that has just been prompted and these phases actually never occurred. And last but not least, if you don't want me to talk about your work because you just don't feel like it, we don't judge, then please use the hashtag #NoFeedback so that I know to skip your work. Of course, I hope that people don't use this too much, but it's up to you, it's your choice. And one personal plea before we actually start is that, this show is something new. It's not something that already existed somewhere and we adapted it to the group. We're exploring new grounds with it. It's something unique. So it won't be perfect, especially in the beginning. You saw it today. The stream somehow didn't start, so I had to start a new one. For the next time, I'll do some reading in order to make it right in the first time. But things like this will happen, especially in the first shows. Also, I'm not a native speaker. I sometimes forget words. I have DicCC open in a second window for when I forget a word or if I don't know how to say something. So please, generally, cut me some slack and be understanding. The first shows won't be perfect, but we'll try our best, right? And with all of this being said, this intro block won't happen every time. This is just the first show, so this is why we do it. From the next show, we will just come directly to what is presented in the group. I will close all these windows and we can officially start. And the first project, or it's not a project actually, it's a post by Flatson today. It is a learning video, basic tips as he puts it himself. In this video I will be explaining in a simple way to understand what PBR materials are and how we should use them in VRA 6 for SketchUp. There are English subtitles. Now the video is obviously more for beginners, but it is a really nice video. It is quite short, 5 minutes long, straight to the point, and Flatson really nicely shows what PBR materials are, what the single maps are used for. So if you are new to the whole visualization thing and you don't know what this is, gladly watch the video. It is really nice. If you want to refresh your knowledge about PBR materials, do as well too. And I would say big up to Flatson. Special thanks for making this video and sharing it with us in the group. Then we move on to the next post, which is a very interesting one because it is on the topic of ambient occlusion. It is Mario's post who says, "Hey, I'm currently watching the Common Point course and wow, I love it." Rightfully so, Mario. The Common Point course is absolutely awesome. I'm not paid or asked to say something like this. I truly like it. I watch each and every video that they post for free every month, which is also additionally very awesome. It is great content. There is a lot to learn, even from seasoned artists. Even if you're a pro, I suggest watching those videos. They are great. The two guys are awesome artists, very creative, very good at what they're doing. If you want to take the whole course, I think you can gladly invest in it. I think it's an investment that will absolutely pay off. And then you get another goodies, or you wait for the free lessons that come every month, if I'm not mistaken. But back to what Mario asks. I'm learning a lot, but aside from lighting, I'm studying the materials they used, and I came across this metal patina material. Now, take a look at what Mario does here. He doesn't only concentrate on the lesson topic that is provided by the Common Point, he also tries to extract the most knowledge out of those videos. So he takes a look at everything, including the materials they use, which is a very smart move. In the picture, I marked where is the material used in the scene and also pasted the original material, which is from the Corona library, here visible to the left. On the right side picture is the modified version from the Common Point guys, but I'm trying to understand what the Corona AO map is doing in both diffuse and roughness cases. I did tweak it, tried it without the Corona AO maps, and indeed with the AO maps it looks better, darker, less reflective. I would like to know what is the Corona AO map doing in this scene where the geometry is flat, because I understand what it does and how to use it in objects with cavities, cornices, and two objects close to each other. Now, you see, third thing that Mario did very right, in my opinion, is he wrote a lot. He gave a background story, he described everything, where he comes from, what he wants to know, and he additionally made this image here that shows the initial material, the change material, where the material is used. It's a simple collage. It takes maybe a minute to make, but from my experience, images, questions that have images attached to them are more likely to be answered rather than purely text images questions. So maybe consider this in future. And he was lucky because Bartosz himself, one of the Common Point guys, answered his question. I won't read Bartosz's answer because it is also long. You can do it for yourself if you're interested. But what we can do is talk a bit about ambient occlusion, because ambient occlusion is something really nice that you can use in your work to enhance its quality. So, of course, you can do your own research on the topic. I think that this first sentence here in Wikipedia, which says ambient occlusion is a shading and rendering technique used to calculate how exposed each point in a scene is to ambient lighting. But I think that this is this puts it straight to the point, and this explains it nicely. And if you do an image search on ambient occlusion, you will see lots of examples, lots of comparisons of images without ambient occlusion and with it turned on, so that you can see what a difference this pass actually makes. And in the beginning, as we started having it, let's say, it was like this. You see this image on the left here. It has no ambient occlusion. So you see the floor, the walls, and the ceiling, they connect with each other, they intersect with each other, but there is no connectedness. They don't seem to interfere with each other. They're just there, which doesn't look authentic, because even if you were to put your palms together like this, in this area here, you will already have ambient occlusion. This is something that just naturally happens. So the right image, even though the ambient occlusion amount is over the top, is still more realistic than the left one because of the ambient occlusion. Now, in the meantime, ambient occlusion is way more than just contact shadowing. It's also used for the distribution of dirt or weathering effects, as you see here on these tiles on the floor. And on the V-Ray side, it's a bit different than in Corona. In V-Ray, you have this V-Ray ambient occlusion pass that you can then use in the post-production by multiplying it. So you place it in Photoshop, for example, as a layer above your beauty pass, and then set it to multiply, and then you get this mixed result. But please be aware, because this effect can easily be overdone, and then it ends up looking something like this. This is obviously a very bad example from a game called Far Cry. You see they really went nuts with the ambient occlusion effect here, so it's more like a dark glow. It surely serves a purpose, and this purpose is that those two people, objects, doesn't matter what, that they stick out in front of their background, but it is way overdone, and of course it looks unrealistic and unauthentic. And when it comes back to V-Ray, if you want an equivalent to this Corona AO map, but in V-Ray, it is the V-Ray Dirt, which is used for the same reasons as the Corona ambient occlusion maps. So for contact shadowing, for weathering effects, dirt, wear, and so on. And generally, one general tip here, and this is really not because this show is in collaboration with Chaos or in the Chaos Campus group. If you have questions, or if you don't know something regarding a Chaos project, let's say the Corona AO map, first check the Chaos docs, because they are really neatly organized. Every single function, every single setting is explained, but it's not just plain, dry, boring text. It's also lots of images, lots of examples, comparisons like this one or this one. So you can learn a ton just by checking those documentations. And with this, I think we can go back to the group. So yeah, great question, Mario. Always, if you don't know something and if you don't find information about it, try to make such questions that are very specific and therefore easy to answer. And after, I don't know, half an hour, we arrive at the first classic visualization project, which is Kama's project. Kama says, "Hello, dear friend, I am back today with a new rendering. The basic model was SketchUp format, download from the BiblioCat website. Now, I didn't know BiblioCat, so I decided to check it for you. It's this site who has a ton of AutoCAD blogs, free and premium. There are some categories, as you can see. They say we should search for a house, so this is what I did, and these are the results. You see, apart from 3D models, there are lots of plans, and if you go to the free stuff to the left, you will still get a lot of free side views and general CAD plans. And maybe this is something, because looking at the quality of the buildings, this is not something I would work with in my scenes, but those plans can be used to build a building that you can exercise with. So this is maybe something that you can use in your work, just as a tip. So he then imported such a free model into the 3ds Max, where all the 3D cooking is done. And in the end, in Photoshop, the magic is worked in the final touch. I remain available for questions, but please, suggestions, comments, errors noted, and so on. Thank you. So, first of all, great attitude, Kama, because again, everyone can improve. So it is great for an artist to be open to suggestions, comments, and general feedback. Also, because this is the first classic project that we'll be talking about, I want you to know that my idea is that every time we talk about specific topics, such as, first of all, being the overall presentation, so what you see here on Facebook, and then topics like 3D modeling, texturing, lighting, design, framing, scattering, background, and post-production. So you have probably already seen me talk about such topics in a written form. Now we will try to do more or less the same in spoken form. And of course, we'll have to see if, I don't know if we need all the topics each and every time, but the major ones we will have. So in this time, we said we started with a general presentation, and when it comes to this, I think that Kama nicely described that this is a free time project that is done in 3ds Max. I didn't see the render engine he used, but I know he finished it in Photoshop. So yeah, this is already a lot of information. And as for the image itself, what we see here, I think it is appealing. I think it looks good. It has a nice atmosphere to it. So, Claudio doesn't find the live session. Can somebody please be kind enough to send him this? Because in the moment, I am a bit too busy with talking. Thank you. So back to Kama's work. Let's enlarge it and take a closer look at it. Now, if we want to start talking about the 3D modeling part, in this specific case, I'm not sure how much I can talk about it, because again, he worked with a model that was downloaded, that was ready-made. So I assume it was the street, maybe the walkway that he did himself. Maybe he worked furtherly on the building, but I have no knowledge about it. Generally speaking, the modeling looks nice to me, nice curves, nice street. The building looks okay too, not too much detail, but not bad either. The railings here, the glass railings, are a bit too plain and look a bit unfinished. Like this is a, 6-8 meter long glass plane, which doesn't look very authentic to me. So I suggest maybe adding some partitioning to it, maybe a handrail onto it so that it looks a bit more authentic. But apart from that, I think that the general look of everything is pretty nice of the modeling. So I think that we can continue with the materials, where I must applaud this street. The street looks really nice. I like the reflection, the slight puddles. It's, this situation after the rain. As for the house itself, again, I don't know how much he did on his own. But yeah, the wooden texture seems clean, seems nice. The main white texture could use a bit of a structure, because currently I see no structure. It's like a plain material. So maybe add some structure to it, Kama, so that it sticks out a bit more. As the next topic, I would say it's the lighting. And this is a very interesting point. I know Kama likes to explore these evening shots, and in this case it's an early evening shot, again nicely atmospheric, beautiful to look at. It also, the bright sky in the background gives a very, very nice contour to the building, which I think is pretty awesome. But there is something I want to show you, dear Kama, and this is of course a blue hour example. Your image is not a blue hour, it's earlier in the evening, but still, you see here we have a bit of the same. We have the bright background sky and the form of the building nicely contrasting to it. But what we also have is this warm, strong light in the interior, and this light is very important because it is formally sucking the viewer in and inviting them, telling them, look, come inside, it's cozy here, come to me. And in your case, if we go back here, you see that you have a bit of it by the staircases, and it looks really nice. But looking generally at the image, it is almost a bit underlit because you don't have enough light here. Because let's look at it like this. It's realistic the way it is now, but photorealism isn't always the main goal of a visualization. It's more important that you put the building that you visualize into the best light so that it looks really great. Now, when it's underlit, it may look authentic in terms of everyday situations, but you want it to look great. So my suggestion is to pump up all the lights on the balconies, in the entrance areas, in the carports, so that the building really starts sticking out. Now, as a next topic, also please turn on the street lights. You have them, but you have turned them on and they have no impact on the scenery at the moment. As a next, we can talk a bit about the design. Again, this is probably not Kama's design, but as an architect or as a user, I gotta ask myself, how do I enter these houses? Because there are these driveways and they are full with the cars. So the cars are blocking the driveways, and with that they block the entrance to this staircase. So my question is, how do I enter this house? Maybe there is a major or a main entrance on the other side. I don't know that, but from this side, seen from this side, it's a bit questionable. And when it comes to the framing, which is probably the last topic that we have here, I would say it's a classic central perspective, symmetric, even though you chose to break the symmetry on the one side, which I think is awesome. Instead of putting one additional house here, you place the street here and then one house in the distance. I think this is awesome, but at the same time, it also makes for an unbalanced image when it comes to the darks and the brights. Because if you take a look at the left side, you have this carport area, which is pretty dark. You have the dark plants here, the dark interior, and then the dark roof material, while on the other side you have a bit of a dark street, but then you have this very bright facade and the bright sky, so it's a bit unbalanced. My suggestion is, there are a few ways to solve this. You can of course turn on the light. Here you can also make the red car be a white one or a bright silver one, which will make this side way brighter. You can turn on the lights here, or you can make them stronger. You can also put some ivy, for example, or some other climbing plant on this facade to make it a bit darker, or maybe plant a tree here, like an LA tree, not a huge one, somewhere here, so that you have something balancing out the image. As for the rest, I like that you have, in the topic of scattering, I liked that you have used more or less 2 or 3 same bushes, but every time you rotated them a bit, you scaled them up and down a bit, and this way it doesn't end up looking like a copy-paste, but like different plants, which is awesome. So in conclusion, I would say this is a really nice exercise. Maybe work more a bit on the lighting of it so that the building starts sticking out more, especially in the ground floor area. And I think that you can gladly then add it to your portfolio. As a next, we have an announcement made by Claudio, which is about the 2023 CG Architect Architectural Awards. Check it out. The submissions are already open since September the 1st, and they will be open for 25 more days, so till October the 1st. If you're interested in participating, which I really recommend you do, check it out, check the link out, check the conditions, the prizes too, and if you decide to participate, good luck. The winners will be announced on December the 6th. And by the way, big up for Ricardo Eloy for all his work that he does for CG Architect and competitions like this. As the next, we have another announcement made by Claudio about the Chaos Campus live show from last week, which he himself was a part of. And it was awesome to see him there and to hear him talk, because he's very passionate about all the projects Chaos brings to life. And seeing him there was really a joy. He's a really, really great dude. And also Andre Lewis, this is the first time I see him. Andre Lewis from Trojan Horse was a unicorn. Very genuine dude, very authentic, very straightforward with his answers. Also dropping the F-bomb every 5 minutes, really enjoyed that. Also the topics aren't just 3D and renderings. The topics were more general and also about the state of our field and mental health and things like that. So very, very interesting stuff with very direct and honest answers. So they were keeping it real for sure. Here is the announcement by the one and only great Nikos Nikolopoulos. And then we arrive at Rita's work. Now, Rita is an awesome artist. I saw her last at the 24 Hours of Chaos event. She was awesome there. Her presentation was awesome too. And she's also one of the part of the jury at this CG Architect competition that we just talked about. So be kind to her if you want to win there. But this project, I'm really happy that she agreed that I can talk about, because this is a really tricky and difficult project to pull off. And I think you see yourself the reason for that. And it is because it is more or less a single color theme project, which is really difficult to pull off. So what she says is it's a personal project, Che Lounge, so Che Guevara Lounge. Software is used, 3ds Max and Corona renderer, full resolution on Behance and her Instagram. Now, generally, I'd like to ask you or to recommend to maybe invest, you have worked for days or weeks on a project. I think that you can then invest maybe additional 2 or 3 minutes to just write 1 or 2 sentences explaining the project, because Rita already said a lot. She brings it straight to the point. It's a personal project. How is it called? The software is used. But what I really wanted to know in this case specifically is, why is this a Che Guevara Lounge, and why she decided to do it, and why did she choose those materials? Personally, at some point in my life, I read Che Guevara's diary. I was learning German, and this was a book we happened to have in German at home, but I don't remember if maybe he likes goat or maybe he likes lions. I don't know. So a few additional words would have been really great here, because it really makes me curious. But about the presentation, let's take a look at the images and see something. So you see she begins with a general image, so an image that shows the general situation that we're looking at, right? So it is the bar, and then we have the shelves for the bottles behind it. So we already know that this is kind of a lounge of a bar situation. And then she continues with this close-up. And not with, let's say, another image that shows the general space or the room or whatever. And the reason for this is because what she is doing, at least I think so, is that she tries to diversify the order of these images so that they are very interesting to look at. Because if she had, let's say, this side view from on the bar, and then she has a straight view, and then she has some other view, at some point, especially with this single color theme, it would be boring at some point and too monotonous. But so she has no other colors to work with to break the monotony. So what she has, however, is different angles, different cameras. So she starts with the general image and then continues with a close-up, followed by a very, very interesting angle, and then she again shows another shot from the main room. And if we take a look at this, here, oh man, so much stuff. If we take a look at this, you will see the same pattern here. I start the project with this main room area and then continue with this close-up. Now, obviously, this close-up is pretty insignificant. This close-up is pretty insignificant to the importance of the whole space, but the thing is that it breaks the monotony. If I had this room here and then another shot from it and then another one, people will easily get visually bored and maybe wouldn't even want to click on my work. So this presentation, it matters. In my case here, of course, I have more colors than Rita does. I have the bright color here and the green, then I have the black, and then I have this colorful image. So I can vary not only some long shots and close-ups, but also colors. But still, think about it. This is something which is important. And now that we talked about the presentation enough, I think let's continue with the modeling part. This is not an easy project to pull off when it comes to the modeling, but I think it is great. If we take a look at the images together, everything seems pretty fine when it comes to the modeling. Only thing I saw going through the images already was this couch here. The armrest looks a bit edgy. Maybe you forgot to turn back on the turbo smooth modifier, because it happens. We sometimes turn off chamfer or turbo smooth in order to get a quick render preview and then forget it. At least something like this happens to me. So maybe this also happened to Rita, because seen from afar, you don't see that they are not smooth enough. It's just this one armrest that shows it. Other than that, I don't think there is much to say. Great modeling. If it comes to the point where modeling and design meet, because this is your own design, Rita, I have something, let's put it like this. It took me a while to figure out that you have used a mirror here on the ceiling. Now, generally speaking, using mirrors is awesome, especially on spaces that are a bit on the smaller side or on the narrow side, because mirrors visually make the rooms and the spaces larger. In this case, you see that it looks as if this space was actually a two-story space, which is a pretty great effect. Without the mirror on the ceiling, I think that it won't look as good as it does now. But the thing is, in terms of nitpicky realism, I think that putting some chamfer on the edges of the mirror so that we have a bit of a growth with ambient occlusion on it here, and the mirror is a bit more visible, would have been a great thing here. Maybe some partitions, because you never have like a 10-meter long piece of mirror. It would be like 1 or 2 meter long pieces that would be put on the ceiling. And maybe additionally, I personally, what I do with mirrors, because I find them confusing sometimes to understand or comprehend on visualizations, what I often do is I give them the bump. I give them a slight bump with a noise map attached to the bump and a multiplier of 0.03 or something. I'll show you an example here. So you see, this is a scene I'm currently working on, this entrance lobby, and you see the mirror to the right. There is a slight distortion to it, which makes it a bit more comprehensible, or at least I hope so. And here to the left, it is polished chrome. It's not a mirror, but you see how those chamfered growths make a difference and make it more perceivable as geometry. And when it comes to the topic of materials, I want to show you something really masterful as I see it. So let's take a look at this scene where there is this probably already made a set, this lion, which already has this patina golden material attached to it with some imperfections here and there. And then the other two main materials in this scene are actually again gold or whatever this is supposed to be, but you see they are not boring. So Rita added some structure to it, maybe some slight bump or in the reflections or something, but it looks a bit like polished gold here in this area on the counter, and down here it has some patina on it. So she more or less has 3 times the same material, but it still looks very, very different on each and every object. And this is called being very good at what you're doing. So I really wanted to show this to you. And while we are still at this image, I gotta talk about the framing, because the framings of the first 2 images are my favorite ones. On this one, you see, she wanted to show and present this bar area, and you see how she did fit everything that she wanted to present you without cutting it off. So the whole bar is inside, also all the chairs, the chandelier. So it's a great framing to show this situation. And on this one, this is like high-class framing, at least the way I see it, because you see this is a close-up concentrating on this lion here, and the droplets from the chandelier follow the form of the lion's back, which I think is really awesome, Rita. So great stuff. This one, I must admit, was a bit confusing to me. First time I saw it, I couldn't quite figure out what's happening here, because the chandelier itself is pretty tricky to understand, and also this very unusual camera by the bar chair looking up. But it is certainly a very interesting angle. And one last thing on this one is, personally, if it was possible, I would concentrate the light on this table, because to me this is more, what this scene or this framing revolves around, and take away the light from the armrest here, because the armrest is not important for this scene, and maybe use some depth of field on it. But again, this is high level nitpicking. This is an awesome project because it is really very difficult. And I still, in conclusion, want to know why it is dedicated to Che Guevara. Is it because he liked cigars and people connect cigars to luxury and gold and so on? So Rita, if you could answer this question, I would be really happy. Thank you in advance. And then we can continue. We have another announcement in the group from Ivan, who talks about an upcoming webinar on Corona 10. I was talking about Ivan's announcement about a webinar on Corona 10 on September the 7th, so in 2 days at 7 p.m. in the evening. It is in Spanish as far as I know, so if you understand Spanish or Portuguese, gladly tune in and see what he has to say. And here we have the announcement about keeping it realistic and all the rules that I already talked about in the first part that maybe some of you missed, but we'll do our best to fuse the two together, or to at least get the first part into the group somehow. Hopefully it works. Then there is the live recording of the show I already talked about. Really, if you missed it, take a look at it. It's a very genuine, a very personal one. It's really awesome. And you see the three sympathetic dudes here, Nikos and Claudio and Andre Lewis, both, all of them really sympathetic, really nice, and a pleasure to listen to. Then we have an interesting question by Mahmoud, who asks, as far as I can sum up the question, if it is possible to add your own models to the Chaos Cosmos library. And as far as I know, at the moment it is not possible, but I know it's on the roadmap of Chaos, so I think that at some point it will be. And then we can continue with another very interesting project by Simão. It's called Green Symphony. And he says, I was inspired by one of Mia Design Studio's projects. I hope you liked it. Softwares used are 3ds Max, Corona Renderer, Photoshop, and Luminar Neo. If you don't know what Luminar Neo is, I didn't. It's something like Lightroom, let's say. And as for Mia Design Studio, here is a project of theirs. So there is a lot of hanging greenery here, so we see where Simão is coming with his project, because you see a lot of hanging plants here. So let's take a stroll through all the images and see what Simão has prepared for us. So obviously it is a very nice situation. It has holiday vibes to it. We have a pool, we have a lot of greenery around. So it's obviously very nice to look at, and just a pleasant holiday vacation vibe situation. Now, the general presentation, I really like that he pointed out what his initial reference is. I didn't find a project looking like this on the page of Mia Design Studios, so I assume Simão did this inspired, so it's his own creation inspired by their works, which is really awesome, and it's great that he pointed out his reference. We know the software combination that he used, so I think this is a very nice description. And as for the images and their presentation as a whole, now he didn't diversify them too much, so he didn't start with a general scene and then a close-up, but what he did is something like a still image walkthrough. So we have this central image, so this is the entrance situation. The next one is around the corner, so we see the main situation. Then we see the main situation, but from the opposite angle. Then it's 90 degrees and then a close-up. So I think personally that it still is very interesting and makes me want to see the other images too. We already went through the images. To be honest, when it comes to the modeling, I don't think there is very much to talk about. This deck here is something that I would suggest putting a bit more love into the modeling of. So maybe have some wood on the side and then a wooden deck atop of it, and not just a single box with box mapping applied to it and just a material. Yeah, but apart from that, there isn't so much to the modeling in this scene. I like the assets that you have used to me, and this is something that me and Vasilis worked out, that assets that have been used in the scene belong to the modeling aspect of it, and the assets that you have used, both the greenery but also the deck chairs, look nice. I also really enjoy how the deck chairs aren't just copy pasted, but they have two different positionings, which makes them look very authentic. About the materials, I would say the material on this one is not the best. It doesn't really fit the scene that much, because this looked like a vintage old material, and to me, it doesn't really belong to a modern scene like this. So my suggestion is to either go the floor generator route and make your own deck, or use a nice deck texture but with more modern planks on it. And again, put a bit more love into the modeling of this part. Other than that, when it comes to the materials, the water material looks really, really nice. The translucency on the leaves is also pretty awesome. This one, the stucco on the wall with the heavy displacement on it is also really beautiful in my opinion. The floor material is okay, a matter of taste, I would say. Let me take a look at my notes to see if I don't miss anything else. But yeah, my major issue with this work is the design of it. Now, if we get back to Mia's works, you will see that they have a lot of hanging plants, but they are more like a buffer zone or something that covers plain walls, like in this situation here. Now in the back here, you are covering a plain wall with the greenery. This looks awesome and this is a great thing to do. But in this area here, we have actually rooms behind the greenery. And I think if you want to access these rooms or leave them and go to the pool area, you either have to crawl underneath the greenery, or every time you have to push it to the side in order to come out or come in, which I don't think is something which functions nicely. You see, last year in 2021, so 2 years ago, we moved from the big city to a small town just because we were able to rent a house with a big garden here. And I love being outside. I love sitting there, eating outside, even though I have leaves in my food and so on. It never, bothers me too much. But if every time I have to, come out in my garden, I have to use a machete, then I don't think this is a very good design. And you see it here again. There seems to be some kind of a dining situation here behind the greenery, a lounge, and they are not accessible from the pool area, even though there may be a door somewhere that you can access, so that you can actually reach those usages, but it's a pity that you cannot reach them from the pool area. So I don't think that you have to remove the greenery entirely, just maybe make it shorter so that you leave some accesses to these areas here. So to the lounge area, to this one, and maybe if we go back to the bedrooms, so that it also makes sense and not only just look beautiful. And framing wise, I think you've used the rule of thirds or the golden ratio, and it looks nice. On this shot, personally, I wasn't quite sure if the framing is optimal, because you have two repeating elements. So you have the chair, you have it already as a whole object, so you can cut off the second one, but the table is being cut off and you don't have a second table that we can see as a whole. So I think that something like this, where the table is visible as a whole and the chair too, and the other one can be cut off wherever you want it to, is a bit of a better framing or cropping, let's say. And yeah, maybe consider putting something here, something that makes a bit of a color contrast, maybe something like a swimming ring. Just please don't use this one. I don't know if you see it, because it is largely overused. I really hate this flamingo a lot, and I haven't even used it in my scenes, but I have seen it so often. Yeah, I don't think that there is anything else to say. It's an awesome project with an awesome vibes to it. Just maybe make it functionally also work out, right? And as a next, we have Seper's work. Seper is a Rhino user, which I'm always pleased to see as an ex-Rhino user myself. He says, bedroom design according to the employer's needs based on warm light and combining it with black, white and light brown colors. So we know this is a commercial project. We know the color scheme was more or less given. We know the software used. So I think this is a really, really nice description. And when it comes to the presentation overall of the images themselves, I think there is a nice variety to the images too. So we have the main scene, which introduces us to everything that's happening here. And then we have a clay model, which I'm always very happy to see because it shows how the lighting setup looks like. And then we have different angles around the bathroom. So it is interesting to look at. So overall, great effort so far. When it comes to the modeling, let's get together through the images. I think that the modeling looks nice at first glance. Now, this is Rhino. Rhino doesn't have modifiers as 3ds Max does, but I still think that you can maybe chamfer your edges a bit more because currently they're a bit sharp. The slippers here, you can pull up a few millimeters, so no clipping with the carpet passiert. There is almost none right now, but there is still some. This is just a tiny detail, but overall very nice looking images. But you see here a very sharp edge. So in Rhino there is the option to chamfer your edges. So it's just a chamfer edge command, and then you can have chamfered edges rounded or straight so that they look a bit better in general. But the modeling, I think, is quite decent. Otherwise, maybe the grouts on the floor are a bit too large. Just imagine dropping a coin there, it would just disappear and never to be seen again. So maybe make the grouts smaller, but give them a bit of a chamfer so that you still have a visible grout on the floor. Material-wise, I really like the combination of these materials. I like how they differentiate to each other but still fit together well. When we take a look at the materials one by one, let's start with the terrazzo. There, or I guess this is some kind of terrazzo, there is some visible repetition here. So, V-Ray for Rhino has its randomization parameters, but if it is a single surface, you cannot really use it there. In Corona, there is this option called randomize each tile, where you can do something like this, and with a material like terrazzo, it really works nicely. But in this case, it doesn't work, so my suggestion is to just go to Photoshop and then duplicate the texture a few times until you have a larger texture, and then use the stamp tool to remove the repetitions, and then use it on objects like this to avoid repetition. Other than that, this material looks pretty nice. I would say maybe add a bit of subsurface scattering to it so that it looks even nicer. The wood material is nice. The thing on the wall, those pipes, I must admit, I could not really figure out what type of material this is supposed to be. To me, it looks a bit like, I don't know, cardboard or something. Maybe it's fabric, but maybe work a bit more on this material to make it more comprehensible. And where do you see the tiles? By the mirror, because the tiles really aren't good, because you see it looks like a concrete texture with some kind of a net spun over it. It doesn't look like real tiles. So the grout should be pushed inwards, and the texture of the tiles should also be different. It should be smoother, it should be maybe a bit more reflective. But if I were you, I would try to rework this specific texture here. And what's more are these, I think the last one when it comes to the materials, are these two, the bidet and the toilet bowl, because contrary to the sinks here, for example, they have no reflections whatsoever, or to the very awesome bathtub, they have no reflections. They are just like a matte diffuse material, and this doesn't look good. It looks unfinished. I will take a look at my notes if I missed something. Yeah, I think the bathtub water, if we take a closer look at it, it looks a bit like melting ice or like seawater or something. Now we're on the inside, there is no wind here, also there is no flowing water or a person in the bathtub, so there is actually no reason for it to have a surface which isn't entirely smooth, right? So just make a flat smooth surface and it will look great. Framing wise, I think you start greatly by showing the whole ingredients of this bathroom. I think this is awesome, also great as a starting image. This image is tilted in order to include these two, so I think this is again one framing that works. This part of the image is kind of boring though, so maybe you can put something there like wall art or something like this. This is a very great shot, I really like it. Also the concrete material looks really good. This is another great shot. The reflections make it especially cool here because they bring some variety to this situation. This one is, I don't think it's so great because it is just slightly tilted, like 1 or 2 degrees to the left, which to me makes no sense, and it's more or less just annoying to the viewer because without this slight tilt, it would be more or less the same angle, but you know, a straight central perspective. Or if you want to tilt your camera or rotate it, then try to do it more than 1 or 2 degrees, like something like 10, so that it is visible that it's not a mistake on your side, but that it is something that you just wanted it to be this way. And for this one, I really like it. I like depth of field. I like close-ups like that. In my opinion, I think it would have been a bit better if this composition would have been the back, the behind one, and this would be the one here in the front, because this one is higher and nothing happens in this area. So if this would have been the one that's in the back, you would have this bottle somewhere here, and the composition it would have been generally better. Design-wise, I don't think there is much to say. I think it works the way it is meant to be. Only, I'm not sure how this thing is called. I think it's called a flush button for the toilet bowl. I think it's way too low. Usually this front wall installations where all the pipes and stuff is hidden in the area around the toilet are higher, like 1.20 meters or something, and this flush button is also higher so that it is more convenient to be pressed. And the other thing is that I personally, this is a personal opinion in this case, I personally think that this toilet bowl is way too close to the wash basins where, you know, the toothbrush of people is, and I wouldn't have placed it there. Let's say I would place it on the wall that's behind the camera or something, but it is as it is. Still, I think this is a really awesome project. I think this time, because sometimes we know each other for a while now, sometimes you tend to rush some of your projects, but on this one it's visible that you paid a lot of attention and wanted to make it really great, and I think you succeeded. Oh, I received positive feedback. This is awesome. This was Alan. He's an awesome dude. I'm happy. Thank you, Alan. Thanks for this positive feedback. It's really appreciated. I hope the others enjoy it too. There is a lot to talk about. As you see, there are quite a few names, quite a lot of names that are still to come, but I want to go through each and every post because I think that each and every group member deserves their time, and yeah, I want to give them their time. But let's continue with Aman. He says, "Hi everyone, I am posting after a long time. Happy to share some renders of a recent personal project I worked on, CG recreation of a beautiful contemporary residential apartment designed by couple, plus couple. I don't know how this is pronounced. The project is called Rybalski apartment and is situated in Kiev, Ukraine. The idea behind this recreation was to test my abilities and to study lighting, materials, and composition using the actual project as a reference. Hope you guys like it. Comments and suggestions most welcome. To me, this is more or less the perfect description, because Aman gave us his backstory. So he told us where he starts from, that this is, he called which reference he used, which studio it is made by, and why he does the whole thing. It's not just I'm doing an exercise project, but I'm doing an exercise project because I want to study lighting, materials, and composition. And I think that this is really awesome. This makes us understand what he is about with this project, and this way also judge it better. So to me, this is an awesome description. I found the software is used also in the hashtags here, so we also know it's like a personal project made in 3ds Max with Corona renderer. So far this is really, really awesome. And looking at the images here, of course, these images were, let's say, already given because he recreated existing photography. But still, take a look at this. The first one shows the kitchen from the side. The other one is a 90-degree view showing the living room. Then it's a kitchen view seen from the living room. So you see there are no repetitions here. Then we have a completely different topic, which is the bathroom. And then we have a night version of the bathroom, which is a variation. So I think presentation-wise, this is just an awesome project. So maybe before we begin, let's take a look at the original project. So you see, you have the feeling that you already know it, don't you? Because this was at least the feeling that I got after taking a look through Aman's images and then taking a look through the original project. I had the feeling that I already know this project, which is I think great for Aman, because it says that he aced what he was after. So let's take a closer look at the images. You see it is a very good, very realistic work. It's a minimalist interior design, which, I mean, minimalism is always nice to recreate because you don't have much to rebuild and so on. So generally it makes sense to recreate minimalistic stuff. It is modern, it looks good, and it is not so much work to recreate it. Then we have the bathroom, then we have an interior shot of the bathroom in the evening, and then we have a very, very nice architectural close-up here and a clay model. So yeah, to me so far, really, really great project. Really enjoyed it. And yeah, when it comes to the modeling, I think there isn't much to say. It is really good. The only thing that I didn't like in the modeling part is the sofa here. I mean, it is a special sofa. It is custom tailored, probably, if you take a look at the original one, because it is a kind of a divider between the living room and the kitchen. So you see the armrest is the divider, and one part faces the kitchen and the other the living room. So this is a custom object for sure. And the way you depicted it, Aman, is a bit more, it looks more like chamfered concrete, to be honest, because it lacks all those imperfections, wrinkles, and so on that the original has. Just take a look at it. Right? So in situations like this, if you don't want to spend the time, or maybe don't have the skills to do so, like I do, I'm not good at making furniture. What I usually do in such cases is that I search for a ready-made model of, let's say, some modular sofa with very minimalistic design to it, and I try to adapt it to my current situation so that in the end I still have all those wrinkles and imperfections that belong to something that is made out of fabric and is soft in general. But this is more or less what I have as an only problem when it comes to the modeling. When it comes to the materials, I think I really like the materials that I see. You see those slight imperfections on the cupboard and drawer fronts. This is probably done with a noise or a dirt map, but it's a very subtle effect, but very important one because it looks more realistic this way. The floor looks nice. The wood is awesome. What I have a slight problem with in general is the concrete materials that you have used. First one is the one on the ceiling. Now, if we go to the original one, then this is the scene that we have, and you see the ceiling concrete has some reflections to it, but it looks more like polished concrete. In your case, however, it looks as if it had a coat of something glossy atop of it. So it's not polished concrete anymore, it's like glossy concrete. So it's not about not making the original exactly, it's about understanding the original to the maximum. And again, this is nitpicking at a very high level, but why not? Everybody can improve at some points, right? And the other concrete material, I think you have chosen a really interesting looking one. I like the pattern of it a lot, but it is also a bit of a very strong texture. So even in the distance, you still clearly see its pattern. If we go back to the original, sorry from jumping here and here the whole back and forth the whole time. Here and here was the German word for that, but I just want you to see the differences, right? So you see the original concrete texture has a lot of structure to it and a lot of imperfections, but seen from afar, it still looks very soft and smooth and polished. If you compare with yours is very strong, which changes a bit the way the whole space looks. But again, this is a bit nitpicky. Same goes for this one. I think it has too many holes into it. I know the original, you studied it carefully. I know that this is really awesome. But you know, the original is a bit more subtle. So I think the only thing that you can probably improve on is the subtlety of some of your materials. This one, again, amazing shot. And generally, you wanted to also exercise your lighting, and I think you absolutely aced it. And this is a great project, Aman. Keep up doing such great projects. And the next one is a very interesting one that to begin I didn't know what to say about. It's by Stella, our first girl for today. Applause for Stella. Ciao, she says, personal project. Every comment will be very appreciated. 3ds Max Corona PS. No bullshitting around Stella. She brings it straight to the point. It's a personal project. She's happy for feedback, and the softwares used are 3ds Max Corona and Photoshop. So we know everything just from 2 sentences. And now let's take a look at those images, because I don't know how you feel about them, but to me this is really interesting, because first time I saw it, I thought it is some kind of a 3D digital art. And to me this is something very interesting because, you know, if you think back, maybe you know this project, but at some point I experimented with rendered painting art or something, and I think this is something really awesome. And if you take a look at this image, first time I saw it, first of all, I think it really nicely captures this Far Eastern Japanese atmosphere. And the first time I saw it, I thought it was a kind of a digital painting or something. Maybe it is because of this very picturesque big background, maybe not, I don't know, but I really like it. Also, when it comes to the general presentation, you see she has 2 shots. The first one is the central perspective of the situation, and the second one faces in the same direction, but still manages to be different because she changed the camera. She didn't just zoom in on this part. She actually changed the camera angle so that this one is a very saturated, very dark image compared to the first one. So some nice framing here, Stella. And now let's take a look at those images. I think when it's about 3D modeling, I'm not sure if 3D modeling has been the main part of this project. I don't know how much of it is modeled by Stella. I assume this is like these curtains here, the glazing curtains, maybe the table, the carpet, I don't know. But I think this is a project which is more about putting all those nice fitting assets together to make a nice, beautiful composition rather than, building a lot of stuff on your own. So when it comes to 3D modeling, I don't know if there is so much to talk about. Material wise, I think that the materials that you have chosen really go together well, fit together well, also when it comes to the coloring, but also to the type of materials and to the situation they're in. The only material that I don't like that much is the green material on this bonsai tree, because it looks almost fakishly saturated green. This is a bit too much, to be honest. But other than that, I think, and this tree to the left can actually be a bit more saturated. So if you even those two trees out a bit, I think it would be great. But the carpet material looks nice too. The stone in the front too. So yeah, not much to say about the materials. The lighting is soft and pleasant. It really fits the back plate, and it's more or less the same in the interior and in the exterior area, and I think this is pretty cool. Design wise, it is really difficult for me to comment because I don't know exactly what you're after. So let's say version scenario A is that you wanted to make something that just screams, this is a Japanese atmosphere, mood, or Far Eastern, whatever. And in this case, you absolutely succeeded because the mood is absolutely there. It kind of reminds me of those IKEA rooms. You know how IKEA makes those rooms that are small, but they have to resemble something like, let's say, a student room in a big city or a large living room in a house in a rural area. And they often work with backlit photography so that they have some kind of a backplate. And this is the feeling that I get from this room. So if you wanted to make something highly realistic, like this is some kind of a Japanese house and this is the view out of it, I don't think it really works so far. But again, if you try to see it just as a beautiful image, I think that this is already the case. Additionally, when it comes to the design elements, there are these two deer here. Now, deer are native to Japan. Let's say they are very appreciated there. People like them, people feed them, people bow to them. I think this is awesome. So it's not the deer themselves as an issue to me, but more them being white, because in represented like this, they resemble more Christmas decoration. Just imagine them having a few Christmas lights in their antlers, and then you know what I mean. So it's the material to them rather than them being deer. Maybe give them a different color, or maybe exchange them for something else, because to me they're a bit foreign to this whole scenery. About the framing, the framing is a different point. Is a nice point here, because there are a lot of really nice details to the framing. Just look at the teapot here and the handle of it, and the form of the bonsai tree, which kind of arches it. I think this is a really beautiful detail. So there is a lot of beauty to the framing of this shot. The second one is a bit more messy, let's say. I mean, you focused on this concrete lantern, which by the way looks awesome, but it is difficult to focus on it because there is so much saturation and so much going on. So maybe work with stronger depth of field effect, or and maybe try to have a more precise focusing when you do a close-up like this. And yeah, I think again, this is a very interesting and beautiful project to me. I don't know if it is the most realistic one. Again, if you take a look at the back plate and this bridge, I don't think that the perspective matches. But on the other hand, I'm not sure if this is so important, just because of the beauty of this project. Not every project has to be hyper realistic to be good, and I think this is an example of that. This is just a project that's nice for the soul, so to say. And now let's continue with our friend Simão, who has been very active since joining the group, which is always nice. He says, "Hello friends, my new work. I hope you like it. Thanks, software, 3ds Max, Corona Renderer." About him, I'm a freelance 3D artist based in Pakistan with experience in architectural visualization. I offer my services to local and international clients. So on the advertisement side, it works nice. The software that you have used is also visible. What I would have gladly known description wise would be if this is maybe a commercial or a free time project of yours, so that we can judge it a bit better. But as for the image itself, just presentation wise, I think it is nicely contrasty. It has some complementary colors to it, the green and the red, and a good contrast to it. So I think it's a nice image to look at when it comes to the overall presentation. Now let's take a look at the 3D modeling. You had some difficult topography to work with, and I think you did quite well with it. When it comes to, I don't know what else to say so much about the modeling here, because everything seems to be a bit pretty far. What I see here in the foreground looks pretty nice to me, but where I have my concerns is the design of this project. So the general functionality and making sense of the contents of the project. So if you take a look at it, you will see that in the foreground we have something like a walkway. First of all, on this walkway we have two street lamps, which render it very unpleasant to walk on and inconvenient to use. Then we have these walls here on both sides of it that really close it, so it's actually almost unusable. You can use it from this point here up until here, which is kind of strange, I gotta admit. Also, these walls look like something that you just put there in order not to build what is behind them, which I very much understand. I have often wished to be able to just pull walls and hide everything that I don't want to build. But of course, this doesn't look very authentic, right? And then the house design itself, like if we take a look at the surroundings, this looks like some nice suburban area, probably in the USA, in Canada, I don't know where. Judging by the houses and their facades, I would just assume that. And then you have this house design that, at least judging by the visualization I have seen in the recent years, looks more like something that belongs in a North African country, in Morocco or in India or something, maybe in Pakistan, really. But I'm not sure if these types of architecture fuse together well. Let's continue with the materials. Now, the materials, I like what you did with the street here, how you led it around the corner. I like the material on the curbs. The stone one is also cool. I like the color scheme that you have used, because it's mostly gray tones and a bit of beige. It's not a bit, it's a lot of beige, but beige is also pretty subtle. And the strong colors that you have used are this very saturated green and the red as an opposite of it, which I think is really nice to look at. Now, the main material, this beige material, is too rudimentary for now, because it has no structure to it whatsoever. Even if we zoom in, I see no structure. I see no curvature or maybe dirt here and there. So it is too plain. It is, you need more. This is like the main material. You have to put more love into it. When it comes to the scattering, I think we saw it by Kama. It is not a problem to work with just more or less the same geometry and then scatter it around. But when doing so, make sure that the geometry, that you rotate it around a bit, that you scale it up and down, so that it doesn't look copy-pasted as it does here. Because you see this hole in the plant, you have it here, you have it here, you have it here, you have it everywhere. So it just looks copy-pasted, and it's not a good look. And in conclusion, I would say that this is a very nice effort. Just make sure that design-wise, functionality-wise, everything that you put in your scene makes sense, so that because this is part of the authenticity of one's work. And I'm looking forward to your next one. Then we have a quick question by Kadir, which is V-Ray PBR material not being recognized by Vantage 2.0, book or not supporting. I'm not a Vantage user because I'm a Corona user. I cannot answer that. But for questions like this, if you don't find enough info in the Chaos docs, maybe also check the Chaos forums. And then we continue with something different. After lots of still images, we have a nice animation by Abderrahman, who, by the way, is artist of the week or the month. I'm not sure. Let us take a look. It is, artist of the month. So congratulations to him. This is awesome by Rebus Farm. So he says, hello everyone, the animation is my first test with Vantage. Really happy with how it turned out. Under it, we can see the V-Ray render. The animation took around 100 minutes, while the image took around 40 minutes. So we have some nice technical information and comparisons here. So we have an animation that took 100 minutes and a a still image that took 40 minutes. We also see the comparison between those two, even though you actually changed the lighting for the animation or for the main image, I don't know what, but they're not entirely the same. So comparing them is a bit difficult, but other than that, if we take a look at it, presentation-wise, we got some nice info, technical info. We know the software that he has used, and I assume this is like a personal project. So I think this is enough of an input. And as for the images, they're very samey in this case, but of course it's for the sake of comparison, because one is an animation, the other one is a still image. So in this case, I think it's very fine. So let's maybe take a look at this situation as a first. When it comes to the modeling, I don't think there is much to say. It looks nice, especially the assets. The bed is awesome, the chair, the stuff here. What I don't like that much is the carpet here. It's a bit too rough, too chunky, so to speak. It's a bit too thick. So maybe try to make it a bit thinner and more fragile, like a carpet should be. And maybe those spots on the ceiling don't quite fit the elegancy of the rest of the room. But this is something that one should try out and see, because you have black elements here. So maybe in the end of the day, anthracite or black spots on the ceiling would be a better choice compared to white ones. I don't know this. Other than that, material-wise, I love the floor texture. It is really awesome. It's very realistic looking. I like how that there is some noise and patina to the ceiling. The assets have great materials to them. The carpet is again a bit problematic because it has this repetitive pattern here, which looks a bit weird, like it's a render error or something. Then what we have is the design. I think it's a nice, spacious design. It's a pleasant to look at it. You have about the framing, there is also not so much to say. A nice central perspective. I think you have used some AI here, which again is not an issue if you want to experiment with AI or use it to enhance your images. Please just point it out in your description so that for the sake of honesty, and so that maybe it gives an idea to the other users that they can also use it this way. Because if I had to guess, I would say that in this case you used generative fill in Photoshop to place this sleeping cat here, which is something that I also did a week ago or something. It's really convenient. It saves render time, because rendering cats with all the fur and everything takes forever. So you save resources, you save time. So why not? Just please, mention it in your description. So again, there's not a problem with this, because this is something that that Abdurrahman actually did. He made the whole rendering, so he did everything we usually do. He just used AI to enhance a part of it, and I see no problem with that. We should be aware of the tools that are at our disposal and use them to the max, I think. What should we talk? I mean, this is the last point regarding this image. So now let's take a look at the animation. I like the fluid camera. There is some stuttering to the camera, which I'm not sure where it comes from. Maybe it is because of Facebook and compression. Maybe it is the render settings. If it is the render settings, then check the chaos docs in order to remove that. Generally, for me, this is a bit too much floating and too much rotating. One can likely get seasick out of watching this, because the camera, I mean, the movement is smooth, but there are lots of rotations, like somebody who was drunk has taken this video. So it's a matter of taste, but I can imagine that to a lot of people this is a bit too much of rotations. Now here, why can I stop it like in YouTube? I will go back a bit and then I'll pause it. You see this white stripe here. This is probably because your model ends after this wall, on the outside of this wall, and then you have this light strip coming from the outside light. To prevent this, a great idea is to just make a black box, turn it into an editable poly, delete one of its sides. It's the side with your main glazing, so that the light can still come in. Make this box black and then put it around your model. So when something like this happens, because it can easily happen, it won't be visible. Just a small tip. And to stay at the animation, apart from this floating, I think that the jump to this one is a bit too sudden, and suddenly the camera here moves very technically, very straight ahead. So I don't think that these two videos go together that well, because they are vastly different. The one is really floaty and the other one is really straight ahead. There is no smooth transition behind them. So my suggestion, because it seems to be an exercise project for you, my suggestion is to maybe try experimenting with different camera movement, maybe a walkthrough, maybe also experiment with adding sound to the whole thing, like some exterior sounds, city sounds, whatnot, and maybe some interior sound, some radio in the distance, the footsteps, and I think it is a great experimental project. As a next, we have something very interesting, Auf and Christus, and it's about a photo montage. So he says, sharing with you an ongoing 3D housing project in the UK with the method of photo montage. This is a preview, not the high-res. Credits to my teammate Nguyen Quoc Viet for the production. I probably butchered that name, but yeah, please bear with me with that. I think it's great that Christos gave credit to the original creator of this image and didn't take all the credit to himself. This is honesty, this is being honorable, this is how it should be, in my opinion. Also, we know this is a commercial project. We don't know the software that has been used for it, but I think that this is enough information. And as for the image, presentation wise, this is probably the first one that I'll have to criticize a bit more, because this is the only image that we see from this project, and by looking at it, you cannot say that you see a lot of what's new about this image, right? So if it was just an image in my Facebook, on my Facebook site, I would probably skip this image because I wouldn't know why I should enlarge it to see more of it. Now, the idea is, let's take a closer look at this. It's, I don't know how much it matters to talk about 3D modeling. I don't see much of it. The buildings are hidden behind shrubs or walls, and we only see a part of it and not in the best resolution, as Christos points out. The modeling looks okay the way it is, but I don't think this is the main topic here. The main topic here should be, in my opinion, this mix of framing, design, and lighting, and the whole photo montage situation that we have here. Because and design wise, I don't mean the design of the houses, but the design of the whole scenery. Because to me, because this is the only image that I see from this project, it is kind of suboptimal. If you squint a bit and look at this scene, you will see that you mostly see the street, this very saturated grass on the opposite side, the sky, but this area here, this is like the shadowy area that we don't really pay that much attention to. This photographic rules with the brightest areas being like the most important, most prominent ones. Well, in this case, it's the street and the sky, and not what the whole thing is actually about, which is those houses here. On the other hand, I fully understand why this happens, and it is not because of you or Nguyen. It's because of the original photo that you get to work with, because the global illumination of said photo makes so that this part here, the part with the houses and with the new project, is in the shadows, while everything else, which is not important at all, as the street and the sky, is brightly illuminated. And of course, if you want to make a good photo montage, you have to place the houses and fit their lighting to the existing lighting of the image that you put those houses later into. So if you have, let's say, suboptimal image, as in this case, there is nothing much you can do. I tried thinking about possible solutions. The only one I came up with, if you're obliged to work further in this image, is to try and add some festive lighting to those houses, so that within this shadowy dark area there is some light coming out of it, so that people actually want to take a look at it, because in the moment, I don't think this is the case. At first I would take a look and I'm like, oh, this is an empty street and this is a nice sky, and after that I see this. Now, the only thing that I don't know, because I don't know the whole project, and you said it is an ongoing one, is if there are other images to this project. Because in this case, if these houses are properly visualized on other renderings, and let's say the only purpose of this image is just to show how subtly these new buildings fit into the existing surroundings, then it is the perfect image. Because if I look at them, I almost don't see them. So this means that they actually fit nicely into the existing surroundings, right? So it very much depends on how you're going to use this project. If there are many images, other images to do it, that actually nicely present the buildings, then it's nice. If not, I think that maybe it would be a better idea in this case to actually do everything in 3D so that you can properly showcase those buildings. I hope this helps, and I'm looking forward to all the other interesting projects that you're posting. And then we come to something entirely different, which isn't ArchViz, and I'm always happy to see something that's not ArchViz after so much ArchViz. And this is a project by Alessio. It's called, no, it's not, it has no name. It's a quick Sunday kit bash with day and sunset versions done in Cinema 4D and Corona 10. I think description wise, we know a lot. It's a personal project. The software that it is done in, I would gladly want to know why you chose to do this, Alessio, but I guess, yeah, you can maybe write it in the comments. But to me, the overall presentation is also very interesting because even though it's the same angle, the two images are vastly different because of the very different lighting. And generally, looking at this, I get some really nice, adventurous Treasure Island vibes, and I want to read a book about pirates now, or play a computer game with adventures, or watch a movie like this. So I think you very much aced the atmosphere here. Modeling wise, given that it is a kit bash, I don't know how much of this you did on your own and how much was pre-made, so I don't think there is so much to judge. Generally, it looks good. Material wise, again, coming with the kit bash, probably most of it came with it. The water surface is really cool, looks really nice. Also, going back to the modeling, I really like how there is something which is beneath the water surface, something that isn't quite recognizable as an object, but really wakes up the curiosity into the viewer. What do we have more? Design-wise, I think that the design is great the way it is. It could be like stop-motion scene from a DreamWorks movie. It's again, it's really pleasant to look at. The lighting, you have these lighting variations. I think it's nicely balanced in both shots. This one is obviously the more atmospheric one. This is the more realistic one, but I personally like both, and more maybe the only thing when it comes to the materials that I probably missed is that the wood that's in the water doesn't look that wet to me. So maybe make it a bit more glossy and a bit darker in the areas near the water surface. And the other thing is that this ship seems to be floating a bit too high. On the second image, it's visible when we switch between them. You pushed it down a bit. Searching for such references, I think it should be even further down to be more realistic. But again, this is a bit of nitpicking. I'm happy that it seems you had joy with this scene, and I'm happy that you shared this joy with us. Thanks for that. Now let's continue with this show in two parts that we're currently watching and go to Douglas' work. Now, this is a special case because Douglas says, I'm changing from SketchUp to 3ds Max with V-Ray. These are my first renders using 3ds Max. It is a simple kitchen that a client requested. They aren't perfect, but I think they turned out pretty good. Any comments is welcome. I think nice description. We know a bit of your backstory. We know the software that you're using. It's also great that you think that they turned out good. You can gladly share your opinion on your own work. There is nothing bad about it. And generally, this is a tough phase for you, I can imagine, because I myself went through it in the end of 2019 when I switched from Rhino, which is a very precise CAD-like software that I still love to this day, to Max, and from V-Ray to Corona. And then I still tried keeping the quality of my works and being there for my clients, even though I struggled a lot with this switch. So I can imagine that this is the same in your case, and I feel you. Also, I can imagine that the leap from SketchUp to max is even bigger as from Rhino to max. And seen from this perspective, I think that you can really be proud of your work as you are now, because it generally looks pretty nice. It's also presentation wise, it is also diverse. You have this main situation, then you have a close-up, then you have a very different straight angle. So in this regard, everything seems really nice. Let's zoom in and take a look at the images themselves. I don't think there is so much to say about the modeling. Modeling seems clean. You know, the fronts of the cupboards and the drawers look a bit flat, maybe, but this could be a design thing, so I'm not sure if there is so much to talk about. Design-wise, I didn't quite get if this is your concept, your design, or if it is something that was given to you that you just had to visualize. I think that it works the way it is. Maybe this whole island with the stools could have been a bit more to the left, because now it's way too close to the door, but you know, this doesn't really matter that much, probably. What I found very curious on this project, however, are the two faucets here, because it's a double sink. There is nothing unusual about it. We also have a double sink at home, but in our case, this faucet is just placed in the middle here so that it works for both the left and the right sink. And this is the first time in my life, also as an architect, that I see two sinks on a double sink, two faucets on a double sink, and I think it's quite strange, to be honest, but if this is the design that was given to you, then so be it. And if this is just a set, let's say, which is a single sink with a faucet attached to it, then make sure to, you know, adapt your sets to your needs. So just remove one of the faucets and put the other in the middle of the two sinks, and then you're set. Other than that, I would not know anything else to say. Material wise, the materials fit together well, I think. Also look nice in general. This rock material here is a bit awkward, to be honest. I find the whole architecture of it a bit strange, but maybe this is a matter of taste, let's say. But the corner, this very sharp corner, doesn't look that good. So in a situation like this, maybe try using the V-Ray displacement modifier, and if you already use it, then try to chamfer your corner before applying the modifier to it, so that you have a bit of a more natural, more rounded corner here. Other than that, there is something strange about, you know, this weird look on the cupboard front tops, because you know, the way you have presented it, I think this is one of those cases where that you could doesn't mean you should. You know, you can obviously do this weather material. This is nice. It looks vintage and all, but in this case, you know, this is a brand new kitchen, and something like this makes it look like somebody used this kitchen for 2 weeks and it already looks like this. Like this is some really cheap veneer that somebody used there and it already looks like shit after just a few weeks. You have it a bit here, and it is not a good look, to be honest. It's a nice effect, but not here, not on a brand new kitchen. Other than that, yeah, the topics of lighting and framing. So we'll go shot by shot and discuss both topics. So on the first one, I'm not a big fan of this tilted camera. I think by now you should know that I don't like it that much. When the camera is just slightly tilted, I see also no big reason in this case. Yes, it is true that the island with the chairs is a bit to the right, so tilting the camera leaves you with a bit less empty space to the left and shows this situation. But I think that if you had a central perspective here, it would have been probably the better choice. You could still see the door on the right, you could still see the door on the left, and probably more out of the fridge, so you can comprehend the whole kitchen better. And when it comes to the lighting here is also not very good because it comes from behind the camera. When the light is coming from behind the camera, it usually makes everything look quite flat, as in this case. Yes, there is some shadow here, but other than that, the kitchen looks flat and almost two-dimensional, and this isn't a good look. So maybe in a situation like this, either turn off completely the environmental lighting and just work with the lighting that you have here. You have lots of options for the artificial lighting, or I don't know, just don't do an image like this because light coming from behind isn't good. And then you see a good example. In this case, we have a tilted camera once again, but in this case, it makes sense because the slight tilt of the camera, first of all, it's stronger. It's just not 1 or 2 degrees. It's more than that. And after that, the tilt of the camera makes it possible to see the depth of the situation here. So we see how deep the countertop is. We see how deep the cupboards are. And the tilted camera or the slightly rotated camera makes sense in this situation. Also, the lighting here is great. You see that the area of interest, which is, this counter situation here, is nicely illuminated. It is the most illuminated area, so lighting wise it works fine too. Also, and last but not least, you have the depth of field effect, so that our focus immediately goes into this area here and doesn't get so much how do you call this? Let me check. This is the first time I use DictCC today, but I want to know the exact word. Yeah, it doesn't distract us that much, even though we have such a strong color on the fruit here. So this is a really, really good shot in my opinion. And this one, this is also a really nice shot. It nicely shows how white the kitchen is. So it's also about information, functionality of this kitchen. The only thing about it is that I think that you should turn on these ceiling spots in order to make this area here, the floor area, also more visible. So again, I think given that this is these are your first renders with 3ds Max, that you're switching softwares and you're this really difficult phase, I think this is a great project. Keep it up, and at some point you'll be way more comfortable than you are now. I promise you that. Now let's continue to, I think, the second but last project that we have today. I don't know how many hours we are into right now, but I hope you're still there, you're not asleep, and you can still follow. So this is Georgi's project. Georgi says, hello, I present my new project, a bathroom with a view. Duration 1 day. I'm interested in your ratings and comments. Again, very nice attitude when an artist wants to get this feedback in order to improve. Also, general presentation wise, Georgi doesn't state if this is a personal or commercial project, but given the image itself, I would assume that this is a personal exercise, and it's done with 3ds Max and Corona and Photoshop, and it took a day, and it doesn't look like a day's time work because it looks very, very awesome. It has very nice vibes. This could easily be a Pinterest image that you just come across in your feed. So let's take a closer look at it. It is, really, really nice. Let me take a look at my notes. What do I have to say about it at all? So yeah, the presentation is great. The modeling also looks pretty nice. Everything fits well to each other. I see chamfered edges and everything. Also, what do we have more? Yeah, again, here we have this light strip, what I talked about on Abderrahman's video. Just put a black box around it and open this black box to the side where your main source of light is situated, so you don't interrupt it, so that situations like this aren't visible. But other than that, the modeling looks really solid. Material wise, it looks also very good. I like how the materials differentiate and still look fit together well. I also like how you put a different material on the outside, because it's like the exterior, it's the facade, rather than the inside, but you manage to have the two materials be so similar that there is not this jump in the material looks that could be confusing and annoying in a situation like this. So this is really, really nice when it comes to materials. Maybe a bit of, dirt, imperfections. If you remember the cupboard fronts on Aman's project in the kitchen, then maybe try something like this here. You do this just with a noise map in your reflection node or glossiness, or maybe a slight bump too, so that the reflections are a bit distorted. One thing I saw is the quality of the grouts on the floor. It seems that you use the texture, but the quality of your displacement isn't sufficient. So if you don't know that, in the performance tab on your Corona settings, as you're a Corona user, there is this displacement section where you have the screen size in pixel. So for a shot like this, if you see that your displacement doesn't look good, try it with pixel size of 1.5 or 1.0 to see if it works better. Of course, this comes at the cost of longer render times. This is just the way it is. What do I have more? Let me check my notes quickly, please. We're almost at the end of it. The lighting nicely fits the backplate, I think, and the backplate, of course, because we have this topic of the background, the backplate is like the major player here, because it's such a nice location to look at. And I think design-wise, what you did here, I don't know if you recreated something or not, but if it is your design or whoever's design it is, they make it, it's made like this, that all the stuff that is around, but because you already show you have a wash basin, you have a bathtub, you have other stuff in this room, but it is made not to distract from this awesome backplate, which is again the main hero of this situation. So yeah, I don't know what else to say. It is just a nice Pinterest-worthy project. I really like, so keep coming projects like this. And we began with Flatson, so let's end this stream also with him. In the beginning I said that one of the rules is not to talk about one art, like more than one work per artist, but in the beginning I briefly mentioned Flatson's video, and now I will briefly mention this one, because this is an image that I already gave Flatson feedback to, and it was in the VW Art Club, and I gave him the feedback back then, and he actually listened, which to me always makes a great artist with a great attitude. He reworked the image and it became so good, not because of my feedback, partially so, but also mostly because of his hard work. And at some point, as far as I remember, on the Chaos official page, it was a project that has been shared by Chaos because it was so awesome. And I really think that it is awesome indeed. He seemed to have worked on it even further. He removed the microwave in the background and put some jars in there. I think it's a nice change. The lamp here is a matter of taste, maybe rotate it 180 degrees so that we have some balls in this area here and some nice reflections. But other than that, this is just an awesome image, an image to enjoy. And again, big up to Flatson for all his nice work. And I think with this, we are at the end of this long show. I don't know how long it took. I think it's more than 2 hours. It was a long session. Again, I hope you're still awake. I hope you're still there. Hopefully, most of all, it was useful to you. Gladly give us your feedback on what you think about this session. Did you profit from it? Did you learn something from it? Do you like it? Do you want to see more of it in the future? And with this being said, I really hope to see you next week once again. And I hope that next time we won't have technical issues anymore. And again, this introductional block that we had today, we won't have anymore. So we will jump straight into the projects. So next session won't be as long as this one was. So from me, bye. Thank you for being here. Be safe and all the best. Bye.